Rivera joins us right now. Good morning to you, Geraldo.
So nice to see the former Palmetto Queen. They are back in her natural environment.
Well, Geraldo, we start this Friday, this hour, with a Fox News alert. It looks as if after 65 years of hostilities, North and South Korea are officially, in the next year, going to declare an end to the Korean War. Geraldo.
It is a fantastic, apparent breakthrough. I don't want to be naive about it. I don't want to pretend that we haven't had false starts before. But when you consider that just several months ago, it was Little Rocket Man, and he was threatening and shooting
My button's bigger than your button.
He could reach Guam easily, and then he could reach, Seattle, and then New York. And he kept evolving, and he sent those missiles over Japan, and now look where we are now. It is a fantastic, apparent breakthrough. I keep modifying it because I was there in the early 80s when they had a rapprochement. Not unlike this, maybe not quite as dramatic. You didn't have Kim, the senior, crossing over the DMZ actually into South Korea.
I mean, that's what happened this morning. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
They planted a tree together.
I love the idea that they're doing televised reunions of families divided by the war, that they will have a formal treaty declaring an end to the war. There's Moon and Kim, and my goodness, look at them holding hands.
When you think of the timing of all this, Geraldo, Mike Pompeo, we have photos just coming in our newsroom overnight of his meeting just a couple weeks ago with Kim Jong-un, but also President Trump, with that meeting just a few weeks away. He tweeted about this morning, 3 tweets about what's going on in Korea. He said, after a furious year of missile launches and nuclear testing, a historic meeting between North and South Korea is now taking place. Good things are happening, but only time will tell. Korean War to end. The United States and all of its great people should be very proud of what is now taking place in Korea. And finally, he says, please do not forget the great help that my good friend President Xi of China, this is a good point, has given to the United States, particularly at the border of North Korea. Without him, it would have been a much longer, tougher process. He mentions China, and they often get lost in this conversation, but yet they might be the most important piece of this entire puzzle.
Well, absolutely. They've measured the traffic on the bridge from North Korea into China, the prime artery of supplies to North Korea, and it was clear that the Chinese were abiding by the sanctions. So as the screws tightened on Kim's regime, it could be he finally said, listen, I can't support people. Remember that one soldier who ran away and they found all these parasites in his belly from malnutrition and all the rest of it? It could be the situation just got so dire that Kim finally said, okay, let's do this. Or this could be the most elaborate subterfuge. He could be leading us down the primrose path, and then we'll say,
surprise!
Here's my nuke. I'm going to rattle it one more time.
The belief in some inside the White House is that the legitimate military option that got to North Korea for the first time ever let them understand that we were serious, and along with the words that came out of President Trump's mouth. However, I think about Otto Warmbier and his family and what they did to him. They are suing the country. Mark Short said this is said this morning he's a legislator, the chief legislative advisor there. He came out yesterday, had no problem saying this is a murderous regime. We have our eyes open. The president says, if I don't like what I hear, I'll get up. So he's lowering expectations and not letting people think that he's caught in the euphoria of the moment. But I want everyone, in case you were not up to a couple hours ago, this was the unscripted moment between Moon and Kim into the south part of the Korean Divide.
And we are declaring a new era of peace. Over the past decades, we endured the tragedy of secession, but now we are here together because we overcame all those hardships. Let us go forward step by step for the bright future together. I sincerely hope that this declaration can satisfy all of you who have got high expectations and aspirations for the peace and unification.
The big question, Geraldo, is apparently they have agreed to work together to denuclearize. The North would like we'll go along with some limits. The United States wants it to be complete.
Well, remember the relationship that used to exist between North Korea and Libya. Gaddafi was well down the road to developing his own nuclear weapons. He gave them up because he wanted to make peace with the West and he wanted to normalize relations. And look, Gaddafi ended up dead in a sewer pipe, killed by his own people. If he had kept his nukes, some would argue he would have been more insulated from that kind of reprisal. So that's the cautionary tale from Kim's point of view. Now, does that mean that he can't go forward? I think that there's plenty of room there. If he freezes, he is already frozen. He is allowing U.S. military exercises in the South Korea in the southern part of the peninsula. He has not complained. It really does seem to me that this is different. This has a vibe of history. This reminds me of Nixon, China, 1973.
And Geraldo, just quickly on a human level, because you have been over there, you think about the people that died during the Korean War, bringing families together. What does it mean for so many people that have suffered?
Well, let me just say, as a proud Puerto Rican, the Borinqueños, the military was segregated in World War II. By the Korean War, they were integrated. The unit from Puerto Rico was in North Korea. They suffered devastating, they were decimated in terms of casualties. So this has a special resonance for people of Puerto Rican descent. To that sacrifice, and to our Marines in China, and although that their sacrifice was not in vain. This is really a very big deal. I would love to see. I think it's probably.
You remember this war, MacArthur? It got fired. We were going to drop a bomb on China.
Four nuclear weapons. He told Truman that he could end the war with four nuclear weapons.
I think you're right, Geraldo. It does feel different. So let's keep our fingers crossed that something happens. Geraldo, thank you very much. Have a great weekend.
My pleasure.